Today I'll be talking about LGBT communities in both Tel Aviv-Jaffa and Ramallah. Tel Aviv-Jaffa was once a majority Arab city which was unified, or you could say absorbed, by Israel after the 1948 Palestinian War. The city sits on the southeast shore of the Mediterranean Sea and is almost directly in the center of the Israel-Palestine region. This metropolitan city has had a reputation of being a very LGBT-friendly place. It has been the subject of much propaganda from the Israeli government throughout the years. Highlighting its supposed open-minded, progressive quality, touristisrael.com even goes as far as saying that the city is a safe place for surrounding countries in the region. However, this is a hard fact to support considering that Tel Aviv and Israel throughout the years have specifically placed an emphasis on othering themselves from the other Muslim countries in the Middle East and depicting those countries as barbaric and backwards, while still trying to maintain a oriental and unique charm by being from the Middle East to be more attractive towards Europeans. In a general sense, in the entire country, but also specifically towards gay tourism. There's a well-known phrase where people refer to Tel Aviv as the villa in the jungle, which was coined by Prime Minister Ehud Barak in 1996. And this kind of mirrors colonial ideas and structures which paint the rest of the Middle East as barbaric, Muslim, backwards countries, and it paints Israel as European-like, so it's more palatable. In a general sense, in the entire country, but also specifically towards gay tourism. Times of Israel included a statement in one of their articles that highlights what I believe to be a common Israeli mindset regarding LGBT issues and Palestine. 2017 Tel Aviv-Jaffa Pride Parade attendee Matan Segev said there is a natural contrast between what is going on in Israel and what is going on in Muslim countries around us, but I don't see why we equate ourselves with them. Alongside this narrative exists the fact that LGBT people can serve and are encouraged to serve in the Israeli army, a fact of which the implications are best summarized by Hanin Maiki, co-founder of the LGBT Palestinian organization Al-Qaz, which means the bow. The statement says that Israel is being promoted as this amazing place with white beaches and hot guys, but that these hot guys, which gay tourists come to dance with, are the very same soldiers that are killing Palestinian children in neighboring cities. In 2007, the Israeli Foreign Ministry created the campaign Brand Israel, where they hired PR firms to revitalize the apartheid's image. A large aspect of the campaign was devoted to cynically using gay rights in order to divert attention from the occupation, and by promoting itself as progressive, and in contrast, Palestine and the Palestinian public as homophobic and malicious. The success of this campaign can clearly be seen in the quote from the Pride Parade attendee. According to Safa Tamish, the director of Muntada, the Arab Forum for Sexuality, Education, and Health in Palestine, sexuality in general and LGBT rights are indeed not openly discussed in Palestinian society. However, she says that the Palestinian society has seen an increased willingness to engage in discussion. Furthermore, she expresses a hope in that she sees a real transformation in their society in the last 4 or 5 years. While Ramallah is not affected by a wider Palestinian PR focus as it relates to LGBT issues, as exists in Tel Aviv-Jaffa by Israel, there are clearly a group of passionate activists and organizations who champion LGBT rights and enrichment. The best example of Palestinian LGBT community is Al-Qaz, an organization established in the early 2000s with the goal of inspiring local critical dialogue about LGBT topics. Additionally, Al-Qaz was formed with the unification of Palestinians as a whole in mind. They are anti-colonialist, anti-apartheid, and seek to overturn the existing oppressive social and political structures which prevent broad social justice for queer and non-queer Palestinians alike. Al-Qaz has served the queer community in both Ramallah in the West Bank and Haifa, which is one of the northernmost port cities in Israel, and also the third biggest Israeli city. This organization and a few others sprouted from a need from the Palestinian queer people to have a sort of community that was separate from the Jerusalem Open House, which was an Israeli initiative that offered Palestinians a space for expression and served as an organization in terms of securing funds and international outreach. What Al-Cause stands for highlights the unique relationship that LGBT and queer Palestinians have, as opposed to Israeli queer people and queer people everywhere. It's impossible to separate the Palestinian identity and politics with the queer Palestinian experience. There is such a strong impression that living in an occupied territory has on a person. One of the statements included in an article by the Electric Intifada says that the pride paradigm dominant in the West isn't necessarily the model for Palestine, and they emphasize the Western narrative that is characterized by binaries such as pride and shame, coming out of the closet or not. The article argues that the Palestinian LGBT movement generally views these binaries as irrelevant and maybe even counterproductive. In August of 2019, the Palestinian Authority Police issued a statement banning Al-Cause and their activities in the West Bank. The spokesperson of the Palestinian Authority Police, Louay Zreikat, stated that the reason for the ban was, among other things, activities of Al-Cause were harmful to the higher values and ideals of Palestinian society. Louay said that the group's activities were unrelated to religions and Palestinian traditions and customs, especially in the city of Nablus. He addressed unnamed dubious parties and accused them of creating discord and harming civic peace in Palestinian society. Following the ban from the police, there was a huge amount of violence and disagreement by the public, but there was also a huge amount of support from the public and concern over Palestinian rights in general. After the Palestinian Authority Police quietly backtracked on their ban, the targeting of queer Palestinians didn't stop. It just shifted from the organization to individuals and activists. Al-Cause has expressed their frustration in their post-police statement on alcause.org, where they say that they are condemning the police's adoption of colonial tactics and that their treatment of the situation is a blatant undermining of the Palestinian civil institutions and society as a whole. All in all, LGBT experience in places like Ramallah and Tel Aviv-Jaffa, their identities are so closely linked to religion, history of occupation and oppression, and ethnic identity. It should be pointed out too that most of the information we have regarding queer Palestinians and their relationship to queer Israelis is from 2019 and earlier. What I believe to be the most recent article from the Al-Cause website, or at least the most recent one in English, is about reflecting on queerness in times of genocide. This article gives some insight into what it is like now for a queer Palestinian. They talk about how in times of war, identity politics and homophobia, transphobia don't just disappear, and how important it is that the people who can be in touch keep some form of community. It's a harsh reality, but in the middle of a genocide, your queer identity seems like it would take a back burner to the suffering and starvation and murder that's happening around you.